Welcome to the Starfish Diaries. I am your host, Liz McKean, and you might have found me from another podcast or from yoga or through coaching or maybe a recovery event, but all that matters is that you're here now, and I am so glad that you're here. On this show, we're going to be talking about identity and self-trust and recovering from all sorts of things, including shame and burnout and squeezing ourselves into what we think good looks like. And I'm going to use a lot of metaphors because that's how I make sense of the world. And I'm hoping that helps you too. I'm really just here to remind you and honestly remind us that there is no such thing as doing life wrong and that you do get to make your life into a place that you want to be. And we're going to figure it out together. So let's go. Hello and welcome back to the Starfish Diaries. I'm just delighted to be with you on this mic. It's hard to go back and listen when you've recorded yourself speaking. I'm sure more people than I even think would understand this because so many of us have a presence now, whether it's on a podcast or on Instagram or, even like voice notes. I feel like we all do those all the time. And there's certain words that you pick up on that you say too many times. And I say the word here, like, I'm here, you're here, I'm so glad we're here, more times than is cute. So I'm going to try to not do that this time. We're going to start with a deep breath. We did 3 last time. I'm just going to do 1. And if you want to do 3, I urge you to hit pause and do a couple more on your own. But for the sake of time, we'll do a quick breath here. So empty out, exhale it all. Breathe in through your nose, nice and deep. Hold at the top. Then open your mouth. How slow can you exhale? Feel the shoulders melt. Feel your jaw unclench. Find your breath come back just at your natural cadence. And if that felt good, but you need a little more, this is your invitation to hit pause and do some more of those deep breaths. I am a big fan of breathing. I mean, it keeps us alive. But those big deep breaths help me. And, I'm a yoga teacher, so I learned and have taught lots of breath techniques, that have just all sorts of ancient wisdom attached to them. And there's also been actual scientific studies to show how great breath work is. There's just part of me that is, my don't tell me what to do muscle is strong within me. And that can make it challenging to breathe on command. But I find that when it occurs to me to take a deep breath, I always feel better afterwards. And it doesn't have to be any super structured or externally directed thing. Like just taking a deep breath and holding it and then letting it out is so powerful. So anyways, we'll do that again at the end if I remember. And I hope that you take a few deep breaths during the day today, even when you're not listening to this podcast. So for now, let's just get into it. I'm so delighted to be on the mic with you. I was overwhelmed with the response from folks when I dropped the podcast. I want to talk about identity today, so that's going to be the topic of what we talk about. But I do want to say that even just publishing the podcast and mentioning it, I didn't do a big formal launch. I posted a few Instagram stories, and just the people who were excited for me and people who were surprised and then people who were not at all surprised. It was just so interesting because that topic and that concept of identity is just so present in any life transition, not only because it impacts how I feel about myself, and the kind of boxes and sort of labels that I give to who I am, but it also is just always an opportunity to have better understanding of how other people see me. And I feel like that's probably a pretty universal experience. So the reason I want to talk about identity is because just the concept has come up a lot for me in the past, I don't know, however long I've been alive, but certainly in the past decade or so. I I already had it on my list of things I wanted to do podcasts about, but then a week ago, a little over a week, I guess at this point, my identity was stolen. And that felt like, a little universal nudge or shove or gut punch to talk about this and to kind of reevaluate the way that I was thinking about it. And if you've ever had your identity stolen in the, financial criminal arena of it all, it's awful. It's like the thing that we all know is possible. We all walk through the world knowing we're putting our information out there. I feel like we've all gotten letters from, doctors' offices or phone providers or carriers, and it's like, your information was part of a data breach. Sorry about that. Sign up for LifeLock, and it's just, you just kind of know it could happen, but it's still nothing you can feel entirely prepared for. So when I found out that it happened, it was, just such a gut punch. And of course I found out on a Sunday night. Not that you have any control over this, but I recommend not finding out about your identity theft on a Sunday night because nothing's open. There's nothing you can do except for panic. And I definitely did have that moment of just that full body. Just, when you can feel yourself turn white, that feeling. And it's like your breath gets kind of sucked out of your lungs, and it just felt so scary. And I remember looking around and being like, are they watching me? I had to call a credit card company to say that wasn't me. And I was afraid to tell them, even though I dialed the phone and these were people I knew, this was the right number, I still was afraid to give them my information. It was just such a moment of the rug being pulled out from underneath me. So got through that really scary first night. And then the next couple days were just a lot of running around and filing all the reports and, being on hold and learning what companies I work with that I deeply value because they have so much compassion in their customer service, and which ones they just really don't care about me at all. And that's okay. It's just the things that you learn. But two important things occurred to me. The first one was, holy shit, I've got this. And if this had happened before, certainly before I got sober, certainly before, I just was this version of me. There's so many tools that I know that I have that I've been able to use over the last few years. And I don't know if those previous me's would have been able to navigate this with I'd like to think grace that I did, even though there was moments of panicking and there was a whole lot of, cursing and but I'm okay. And so there was that moment of just really deep appreciation for these milestones of growth that we're able to hold in one hand while we're totally pissed off and stressed in the other hand. And then also I was like, well, what does it mean to have my identity stolen, right? Like what is that? So yeah, somebody has my personal information and they've, used it in a bad way, a way that they should not have used it. And there's no getting that back necessarily. It's not like when somebody steals a credit card and you can just cancel it. It's like they have things they could pretend to be me. And that is incredibly scary. And also, nobody can steal my identity. I had that thought where it's like, I actually know who I am now. And I feel very secure with what's in here. I know I'm not on video, but I'm just putting my hand on my heart right now. Like, I know who I am. And it just felt so good to be like, there's a me in here that can't be taken. And that did not used to be the case. That there are still moments that I forget that that's the case, but we're kind of trained to define ourselves by these external reflections of ourselves. We're trained, I think, particularly as women to, and this doesn't mean that it's only the case for women, but we are shown what it's supposed to look like to be okay. Look this way, dress this way, behave this way, arrange your face in this way that is palatable, that is attractive, that is also, how to be invisible if you need to. We're taught to be small in a lot of ways, and we are so smart and we are so resourceful that we figure that out. We get those messages and we figure out how to move through the world being whatever we need to be, being whoever we need to be safe, to be successful. And I am damn good at that. I got to tell you, I can be in a lot of different scenarios and find success. And I'm really grateful that I have that ability. I know how to, I can be liked in a way that makes me feel like safe and supported. I can do good work when I need to. I can even ask for help in a way that I will successfully get the help that I need. And that is incredible. And then there's the labels that we take on. Because we need to put ourselves in a box, right? So that we can make sense to ourselves and that so we can make sense to someone else. And often that's what we do for a living, whether that's a job or a education or a title or a company we work for. And that can easily become the identifying thing about us. We have the family that we come from. I mean, as wild as it is, we have the way we eat, the way we move our bodies. I'm an athlete. I'm a runner. I'm a yogi. And then for a long time I was a vegan, and there was just so many things that it's like I have a word for these things. And as life goes on, it can feel incredibly scary to release them, to have those identities, quote unquote identities, challenged. I got to a point that eating plant-based, being vegan, was not good for me anymore. It was, I feel very strongly that I want to say, and I believe that if you, that you can be vegan and be very healthy and very happy. And there were multiple reasons that maybe I'll talk about in another episode, but that it stopped working for me after a good 8 years of having that be a big part of who I was. And there's plenty of people who don't even know that I've made that change because it was such a big part of my identity for so long. And then to make that change because it was the right thing for me was not just scary because it was a new way of eating, which is a thing that we do every single day, several times a day, but also because it was a thing that people knew about me and a thing that people, I was proud of. I could, if I told somebody that, they were impressed with me, and that wasn't the reason I was doing it, but it was a perk, and that made it hard to let go of. And I was a nurse. When I stopped being a nurse, that felt like a huge, identity crisis, for lack of a better way of saying it. I recently was in a leadership position in an organization, and I still am really involved with that organization, but I'm not in that leadership position anymore, and that title was a big part of my identity for a while. And it's just, it's wonderful that we can have these words, these pieces of us that we can give language to and explain to someone, and it's helpful and it's convenient. And also those can all go away, right? Those are just words. And for a long time, it didn't occur to me that there needed to be something underneath that. There needed to be a me beneath all of those me's. I couldn't just hold up a piece of paper or a resume or list something and have that be the entirety of me. And when I tried to do that, it's like I was missing. I didn't, there are periods in my life that I feel like nobody knew me because I didn't know me. And looking back, I think it's because I was so afraid that that whatever was left underneath all those words, all those titles, whether they were achievements or ways to be good, I didn't think underneath that was anything that was very good at all. And I think that comes from a lot of places. I remember being, we went to church when I was little, stopped, when I was a little older, but, I remember being being told that we were bad, we were evil, and, we essentially had to use our lives to make up for that, apologize for that in order to go to heaven. And if you messed it up, if you thought a wrong thought, said a wrong thing, did a wrong thing, then, you're going to go to hell. And then, like, what a scary thing to just be told and absolutely believe. I believed it, that what is in here is bad, and I need to work really hard to make sure that I do enough good and perform enough good to make up for the bad. And I am not someone with the level of, religious trauma that I know a lot of people have, and I'm certainly not trying to make this episode about that. But I do think that is one example and one piece of a bigger kind of cultural puzzle that teaches us that, it's really important to fight that animal that is within you to be able to, prove your goodness throughout your life. Even the concept of thinking about, what are you gonna look back on your deathbed and regret? What things could you do to make sure you don't have regrets? Those are just ways that I thought you were supposed to think, because otherwise, how are you going to keep yourself in check? And obviously it got overwhelming to the point that this is a simplified way to talk about this, but that I just would drink, and then I just wouldn't have to care about any of that, and then for a while, that was my identity. I was fun. I was a party girl. The only thing that mattered was getting my hands on this thing that made me feel better. And then I could be a different identity, a different version of me. And it's so interesting because even right now, even though I thought about this episode and I thought about what I was going to talk about, even just as I say the words, I could just get lost in my mind thinking about all the versions of me, all the identities that I've had. And I was there all along. The same me that's here now was there then, but I just didn't have, access to her. And I'm so sad about that. And I'm so glad that I have access to her now, because it's now it's me, and it's mine. And I never had to worry about my identity being stolen or lost or given away. I never had to fear the actual me. She's not bad. She's not good. She's me. So she's actually all of those things. We contain it all. And I have it written on a little Post-it right in front of me: unconditional unconditional trust. Because I decided recently, I didn't just decide, I realized, and then I decided I was going to be really intentional about this, that I will unconditionally like me. I do unconditionally like me, and I unconditionally trust me. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to screw up. And that doesn't mean there's not moments that I'm like, what is wrong with you? Even that, the moments that happens, I can still remember that I'm okay. I like me. And again, there's no stealing of that. That's all happening within me. I know I brought up, actually, maybe this was on Instagram. I brought up a story that Elizabeth Gilbert had told. I'm a big Elizabeth Gilbert fan. I have a copy of Eat, Pray, Love, like the original, it's probably a first edition. And my mom found it in the teacher's lounge. Like, it was like the year that it came out, and gave it to me. And I had never heard of it. It was before it was widely known, but I read it and I just loved it. And I've read it a million times since. I say that because I like to make it very clear that I liked the book before there was a movie, and I really don't like the movie, even though I love Julia Roberts. I digress. I say this because I'm going to probably bring up Elizabeth Gilbert multiple times. Her and Glennon Doyle, I feel like they just live in my head. There's so many things that they've put words to that I wasn't able to before. But one of the things that Elizabeth Gilbert said, and I think it was this actually in Big Magic, which is another one of her books, that essentially when you create something, when you do work, when you put things out into the world, it stops being any of your business. Like, what someone's going to do with that art or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, that's theirs to then filter through themselves. And so when I put this out to you, it's yours to figure out whether you love it, hate it, what it means to you. And I couldn't have done that before. When I've done the Rise, Recover, Live podcast with Bryce, I've just loved every moment of doing that podcast. I'm so excited for our updated one that's going to be coming out soon. But I was always so scared. Like I had to stop. I had to unsubscribe to my own podcast because every time I would see the what's it called, notification come up saying, this podcast dropped today, I would be like, my stomach would just drop and I would start replaying the things that I said and just feel so afraid that I said the wrong thing or someone would misunderstand me. I was just so afraid, and I don't feel that way anymore because now I really do believe like this is just, I love this podcasting medium because it's just talking. It's just me. I can just be, and then trust that I am doing the best that I can right now, and that you get to take this into your ears and just do with it what you need to do. And if you love it, I'm so glad. And also, I'm okay. And if you hate it, I'm not, jumping for joy about that, but also I'm still okay. There's this needing to like and trust myself in order to do this in a way that is authentic, because otherwise I'm going to be worrying about what I'm saying and replaying it in my head, and I won't be able to like listen to it after to make sure that it sounds okay before you hear it. And I have to be able to do that because it's just me now. And yeah, and I'm so glad. I'm so happy that I can show up in this way and just trust you and trust me and know that I'm probably going to say a million things that I'll look back on and feel embarrassed about, but I'll still like me and I'll still be okay. And I still will be me, and that just can't be stolen. And that's really cool. There's a thing that, since I brought up Glennon Doyle, she's in my head too, that she's said, she's talked about her books. She's a writer. If you've not heard of her, I just adore everything that she's put out in the world. But she wrote books when she was married to a man. She wrote books when she was going through infidelity in her marriage. And then now she writes books from her current life where she is married to a woman, and it's just been these like chapters of her life, and I have just connected with so much that she's talked about every chapter. But she's talked about how like she looks back at those old books and she doesn't even agree with the things that she said in those books. She talked about in one of them how she was born broken. And I remember reading that and being like, oh, me too, and now she's like, I wasn't born broken. None of us were born broken. But she's like, this is why people write. This is why people used to write in the sand, because it needs to get washed away, because we change. And when you write something or when you say something like this podcast, I'm going to put out there, and it's not going anywhere. Once something's on the internet, it's there forever. And for better or for worse, there will be another iteration of me, still me, but another iteration with new thoughts, new information, a year from now, a decade from now, longer. And I'll probably look back on things that I've said here and be like, oh my God, what? I don't even agree with that. And like, that's okay. This is me in this moment. And the other cool thing about this kind of work, whether it's working in the recovery industry or working with coaching clients, I get to be the me that I am right now, because the you that is you right now is connecting with something that I'm doing that I can help you with. And 2 years from now, there'll be someone who is in this place where I am right now that I'll be able to help that I wouldn't have been able to today because like I hadn't gotten to the next step. So there's room for all of it and all of the versions of us and all of the identities of us. But the point that I'm making and belaboring is that nobody can steal my identity. And that's because it's not even a thing you can wrap your hands around or arms around. You can't even, there's not a word that's going to be static. It's ever evolving, and it's made of, just to get really, really out there for you, it's made of just, the stardust and love and all those beautiful things that make up our soul or our essence or whatever word you want to assign to it. The thing that I'm talking about at the end of a yoga class when I say the love and the light and the goodness in me sees and honors the love and the light and the goodness in you. And the love and the light and the goodness in you has nothing to do with whether you're a vegetarian or whether you're a dancer or whether you are a CEO. Those are cool things that your love and light and goodness get to impact in a moment, but you're just you. Love and light and goodness. And I love that. I love that for me. I love that for you. I love that for every starfish in the sea. So I think I'll leave that. I think we'll leave that here. And yeah, I hope something spoke to you. And if nothing else, maybe you had some background chatter in your ear. Maybe you at least got a deep breath out of it. And I guess one more thing I want to say is that I do identify with words. I feel good about having language for things about me. I just love that can be ever evolving, and that doesn't mean anything is ever lost. It's just all of our shapes. Like the breath that we take, that takes the shape of you. And then you exhale it, and it takes the shape of the whole universe. So on that note, just take a breath, just a regular one, and then exhale every little bit of the air out. Take a big breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. Good. Do that one more time. Big breath in through your nose. Hold at the top. Open your mouth, let it go. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. If you haven't already, I hope you hit the subscribe button. I hope you join me every week. And even if you don't, I'm just glad that you're here today. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Starfish Diaries. I want to take a quick moment to thank some of the people who have made this possible. The artwork that I am so in love with is by my friend and the most talented artist, Mo Houston, and you can find her and her work and work with her by going to Joy Scout Studios. I will have that linked in the show notes. And thank you to my incredible editor, Sean Gritters. If you are looking for production support with your podcast, highly recommend that you check him out. His information will also be in the description.